All right, glad to have you back. Now, Africa, through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, has strategically positioned itself to tap into the $712 billion digital trade market by 2035, leveraging key partnership and trade-enabling infrastructure to deepen continental integration and economic sovereignty. Mr. Wame Kelemene, Secretary General of the AfcFTA Secretariat, made this known on Wednesday at the 2025 Afreximbank annual meetings in Abuja. According to him, the protocol on digital trade is central to Africa's AfcFTA strategy for unlocking the potential of Africa's growing digital economy. He emphasized the critical role of Afreximbank in providing the financial architecture required to support the AfcFTA's implementation, especially in reducing and eliminating tariffs and non-tariff barriers. Among the tools introduced in collaboration with Afreximbank is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPS, which enables intra-African payments in local currencies, reducing dependence on the US dollar and lowering transaction costs. My guest is Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, our export doctor, lead consultant, CEO, 3T Impex Consulting Limited. It's good to have you on the show. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Well, I'm sure that news came to you as a positive one. I think looking at digital trade and the opportunities with the AfcFTA, first help us understand how achievable this is, because it looks like a tall order to me.
No, I don't think so, actually, because digital trade is just part of the trading services. And trading services has been growing at a very, very, very high rate since COVID. As of last year, according to United Nations UNCTAD, the total global trade was about $33 trillion. Out of that, about 24 trillion was trading goods, and about 9 trillion was trading services. This was just about 6 trillion just after COVID. Now it has increased to about 9 trillion, of which digital trade is just one of it. So trading services is on a fast lane and increasing very rapidly. And this, what the Secretary General of AfcFTA Secretariat is saying, is very possible. We just need to do what we need to do to be able to harness the potential. You know, sometimes we throw out all these figures of what can be done, of what is possible. But if we don't do what we need to do, then it will be difficult to achieve.
What are those things we need to do at this time, Dr. Ayemibo? Because I am worried. Why? Two things. We've been talking about the AfcFTA, and I'm thinking that Nigeria is not taking advantage of it as much as it should. What are those things that we need to do to be a major player in this market? It's a large market. And Africa is a large market. And, you know, we've talked about PAPs, we've talked about ways of making payments easier and all of this. But what do we do to key in and become very active? That's my worry.
Very legitimate worry, I must say. Now, let's try to define a digital trade. Digital trade, you can call it transactions that are digitally enabled, digitally ordered, or digitally delivered. For some, it's digitally ordered and physically delivered. A good example with e-commerce platform. Then digitally delivered services. That means these services are digitally delivered. They can be digitally ordered and digitally delivered, which can involve professional services, legal services, accounting services, computer, software, application services, telemedicine, and online education. Now, we've not done very well in growth of trading goods. And I think the minister is trying to leverage on the energy of Nigerian youth and the interest in technology to be able to see how we can leverage trade in services. So when you talk about digital trade is just trade in services. Now, if you're going to be able to take advantage of this, then we need to support in a lot of ways. You know, recently the telcos increased their rate. So the rate of data in Nigeria today, internet connectivity in Nigeria today has been on the rise, been on the increase. So if the government is going to be able to achieve its objective, particularly the Minister of Trade on digital trade, then there is need for serious support for the targeted young people or entrepreneurs that is supposed to leverage this opportunity and trade within Africa. So developing robust digital infrastructure is very important. Expanding our broadband assets. I know the Minister of Digital Economy, the Minister of Digital Economy, yes, Minister of Communication and Telecommunication is doing a lot in this regard. I know there is a plan. I don't know how far that has gone. The plan to ensure the increased connectivity in the country using fiber optic network and leveraging satellite internet like the one Elon Musk is doing. Then data center and cloud infrastructure also is very important. Encouraging investment in local data centers to support data services. Some private sector are doing this already. Ensuring data sovereignty and, of course, reducing latency. Then reliable power supply. So this is why I said brilliant ideas of what the minister is trying to do, but we have some challenges. Power supply, just the way power supply is affecting manufacturing. Power supply also will affect how much we can do with digital trade. So addressing persistent power deficit, a stable and affordable electricity is foundational for running digital platform and data center and data infrastructure anywhere in the world. So what that means is that we need to identify what are the issues we currently have and be able to find solution. Maybe it might need, just the way in for manufacturing you have centers, hubs, where you will be able to have businesses coming together and sharing facility for manufacturing and production, something like that. I mean, we have CC Hub in Lagos and a number of other hubs like that. That kind of initiative might be able to help in this regard so that you can have enough power to support this. Now, in addition to this, Pan-African payment and settlement system is on. Nigeria is part of it. Other African countries are part of it. However, even in Nigeria, not many banks have connected to the Pan-African payment and settlement system. If we are going to be able to trade digitally, payment must be seamless. Payment must be seamless. AfcFTA have already solved the problem building the infrastructure. Connectivity and interoperability becomes what everyone has to do right now. Central Bank of Nigeria is already connected, but not all Nigerian banks are connected, probably due to technology issue, technical issue. I don't know what the problem is, but those are the things that need to be looked at. And of course, educating the populace. Recently, I think about a month or 2 months ago, the minister had a session with this community for digital trade. I attended that meeting and was answering questions directly, which I think is very much commendable. But beyond that is capacity building on digital trade. So if I'm going to do digital trade and enter a market, what are the things I need to do? What I need to put in place? How do I overcome the challenges in that market and be able to do business in that market? These are some of the things I think are very important for us to leverage African Continental Free Trade Agreement through digital trade or trading services.
I see a lot of prospects around that space, getting your analysis. But all of these challenges will also need a lot of investments to address them. I mean, they will need a lot of investments. Like you said, investing in data centers, opportunities for young entrepreneurs. We know that also public digital infrastructures will need to be improved, like those you identified. What are you thinking around support? Where do you think the likes of AfcFTA might want to come in? What other level of support do you think we should be looking out for? Because that support is needed for us to be competitive.
Considering the fact that this is targeted at young people, and we have a lot of very socially responsible businesses in Nigeria, beyond what the government is doing is to engage multinationals, large corporates in Nigeria to support the initiative. Supporting hubs where people can access power to be able to do this business. Supporting initiatives that also have to do with capacity building. In fact, the government needs to have serious handshake. I know Minister of Trade are always having meetings together. I want to assume the Minister of Trade in Nigeria, Dr. Duwole, is talking to them because, you know, the interesting thing about international trade is it's a lot easier for you to do international trade successfully and sustainably, either for trading goods or trading services like digital trade, when there is a partner at destination. So if I'm targeting Kenya market for a business opportunity, for example, then I should be relating with some rep on that in that axis, particularly maybe the Chamber of Commerce, for example, either bilateral or city chamber, for example, or working with the Ministry of Trade in those countries. So that kind of support for market access, beyond funding for infrastructure and whatever things that are required locally, the kind of support for market access is also area of support I think the government must take very seriously working with the Chamber of Commerce, working with Ministry of Trade in those countries to be able to enable Nigerian business to gain access, and also assisting them to gain access to Nigeria, because you can't be trying to enter their country and blocking your country. So whatever service they are looking at selling to us, we should also partner with them so it can be a mutually beneficial relationship. We are granted access relationship in their country, and we're also assisting them here in Nigeria.
Now, before I wrap this up, I'd like us to take a look at the larger picture of the AfcFTA and where we are as a country. Yes, services, digital trade, export of goods and services in this very large market that we talk about. But in your thoughts, you've been going around monitoring all of this, giving lectures and all of that, attending seminars, workshops around this. Are we now at that point where we are really ready to compete in that market? That is one. Don't forget, I always refer to AGOA. AGOA came in, and I believe we didn't get the best of it. Africa, but that's it. I don't want the AfcFTA to go that same route. So where are we considering our manufacturers and our other markets that are supposed to tap into this very important agreement?
Well, a very important question you've asked, and this is an opportunity for me to raise this concern. I mean, is this a national TV? I believe people in government should be listening to this. You know, we need dollar in Nigeria. We need inflow of dollar in Nigeria. If we are going to get inflow of dollar, we must increase our trade. If we are going to increase our trade, we must increase financing of international trade. But there's a problem. So today, if I want to take a loan from Nexim Bank, and it's at a threshold, I think over 500 million or a billion, at a threshold that will require the board approval, it becomes a big challenge, because sometimes the CEO has to become creative to go through the Minister of Finance to be able to get some approval required that the board could have done, because the board is yet to be constituted. And what's causing the delay? There are statutory member of that board from Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Finance, any Central Bank of Nigeria, but there are some politicians that should be on that board, and you know the way politics is in Nigeria. So maybe because of politicking, I don't know what the issue is, but what is important right now is that that organization, that's Nigerian Export-Import Bank, that is supposed to be saddled with responsibility of financing non-oil export to be able to increase the volume, currently do not have a board constituted. And this has been going on for a very long time, since all the board of different government agencies, federal government agencies, are dissolved. And I want to make a very serious appeal that, look, we need to grow non-oil exports. We need to grow trade. If we are going to grow trade, we need to increase how much finance to go to that sector. And you know, currently there's a big challenge because of the the interest rate, because of the, of course, MPR, I think at 27.5%, which is making interest rate to be very high up there. That is making it difficult for a lot of manufacturers to be profitable, including export. And that is where organizations like Nigerian Export-Import Bank come in, because they are able to give this loan at a lower rate, near single digit, actually. Probably about 9, 10, 11, 12% or 13% mark. But they are not able to do their job efficiently because now they don't have a board constituted, and that is delaying a lot of application. Now, that for me is not a sign that we're really very serious about trade, growing trade. Because if there is an institution that needs more capitalization to be able to do export credit insurance, more capitalization, to be able to fund more manufacturing, because in Africa, to grow African trade, we definitely need to export manufactured goods. We're not going to do commodities. And the reason is because many African countries need manufactured goods. A number of them are probably worse than Nigeria in terms of manufacturing. So they need manufactured goods. So if you are going to be able to do those manufacturing and export to African countries duty-free to increase our trade volume, then we must ensure financing is not hampered. Now, you talk about AGOA. There's a challenge with AGOA. With what is happening in the US right now because of Trump, and with the 14% on Nigeria and 10% on a number of countries in Africa, and some even having 15, 30, or even 34%. Now, AGOA, in my opinion, is dead. Maybe if it can be revived when another president comes in another 4 years, I mean, 3.5 years from now. But the issue is that when AGOA was running for over a decade, we did not maximize the potential of that agreement. And the reason is still the same problem, the problem of export readiness on the part of the business and the issue of government taking non-oil export, giving it priority. It's not being given priority. When the government begins to give it priority, then we have a lot of support coming to the sector, and then that can dovetail into, and that can come in form of incentive. Because when businesses know government is supporting this sector and there's an incentive in that sector, people are going to come in and do what is necessary to be able to partake in that incentive being given by the government.
Dr. Bamidele Ayemi Bamos, thank you so much for your time. I think we need to have a session analyzing AGOA and AfcFTA, just breaking it down and, you know, making Nigerians understand what that is. Lead consultant, CEO, 3T Impex Consulting Limited. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much. I know it's been a stressful day, but thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, and bye.